Todd-U.
Welcome back to Todd-U. Today we're going to be talking about relays a little bit. This is your typical Bosch relay. It's a five-prong unit. Why do we need relays? Why don't we just run things through switches? If you run something with a high amount of, takes a lot of current, like a light bar. I got this big light bar over here that's got all these lights in it, and they're all wired in a parallel. And grounded. It's going to take quite a bit amount of power to run this light. So it'll be a lot of current it's going to take. The amperage would be high. So the purpose of a relay is to use a small amount of voltage to control a large amount of current. What we would do, this is what this relay is. It is basically got a coil of wire over here with an iron bar in it. And when we put power on one end and ground the other, we make an electromagnet. Well, that electromagnet is going to suck this over here, and we're going to have a constant source of power on our 30. So I got a battery right here, constant source of power right there. I'd have to have a switch, right? Need to have a switch that also comes off my battery. We're going to go ahead and put a fuse in there too for safety. Run this switch right back over here to 86. So I have battery power going to my relay, I got battery power going through a fuse, going to a switch, and want my lights to come on, right? Well, I'm going to ground the other end of my coil, and then I'm going to go from right here to right here. If you ever get confused on what's going on your relay, most of them have a picture on it showing how they're supposed to be wired. We're controlling this power here, is what we're controlling. When I latch this switch, that puts power here, goes through my coil wire, finds ground. It's going to suck this over to here, bang, providing power up here to my light bar. If you don't use a relay and you just use a switch going to this, the amount of current that's going through this switch could cause a fire or you have failure. Alright, so what I've got here is these a couple Bosch relays. One of them I've got the cover off of. So you're actually going to be able to see the magnetic field bring that from 87A to 87. So watch close. I'm hoping this works. Remember I told you it takes this what a relay does? Small amount of voltage to control a large amount of current. This is a 9-volt battery, right? This is a 12-volt relay, but it still works with just 9 volts. Over here, you can see how it's supposed to be wired. You can see the coil of wire inside there. You can see that there's continuity when this thing's, as we're holding it in our hand, we have continuity from 30 to 87A. When we activate our relay, we take that continuity from 30 to 87, and that is our load side of this relay. Alright, so here we are on this 4440. It's an interesting electrical circuit. Actually takes three relays for this circuit to work completely. So first off, we're going to start off with, we got a switch on, it's got 4 positions on it. So we have off, we have warning, we have highway, and we have field. So those are our 4 positions. The very first position is our warning lights. Warning lights are the flashing yellow amber lights that are on the top. We'll also have some on the back. So when we're transporting this thing on the highway during the daytime, we can have them flash it up there so people can see them. Our next position is going to be what's called highway. And our highway, We're going to have lights, and our warning lights are going to be on at the same time. This will be for traveling at night. We also have, in this position, we have a low beam, which we only have one light running on each side, and then we have high beam, where we've got 2 lights on each side on the fender. When I go back to my field, my next position is my field position, so when I'm working in the field, I don't need to have my flashing lights on in the field position, but what I'm looking for is to have a bunch of light out here so I can see what's in front of me. Also have lights on the back. And in my field position, I still have a high and low beam. The high and low beam really works on the back part of the tractor where I have my upper lights, my upper floodlights shine down, as well as my lights that are directly behind the fender. So these are the different positions and the functions of the lighting circuit. We're going to show you a schematic that was written up in paint and try to highlight how this works on the electrical side. But I want to make sure you can see how it worked on the tractor and make sure that the switches, understand how the switch functions. All right, so what we got here first off is this is just a typical schematic of this lighting circuit on this 4440 John Deere. And it does show everything from the batteries, 2 6-volt batteries that are in a series, going to picking up our power at the starter motor, going to our relay, main relay, starter relay, and then we go from there and go power up to our circuit breakers, and then we supply power to our main light relay and our light switch. Now the light switch, as you see, it's got an A and B power coming into there. There is absolutely 2 different sources of 12-volt power coming into this switch. If you think about how the switch works, and it's got 4 positions, off being one of them, there's not enough room for that thing to just turn 90 degrees to get all these functions. So what they did was they put 2 triggers inside this switch that brings power down to each individual lug. Inside here you'll also see I got a couple symbols that is a diode, and a diode is something that only allows electricity to flow in one direction. So first thing, we drop down into, let's put our warning lights on. So we go down 1. You can see that both triggers will go down. The top one, the A input is going to be what's going to be supplying power up to my flashing unit, and then it goes to my warning lights. My B is going to come down at the same time, but it's going to come down and it has no hookup to it. There is no load on that lug. Now we got our warning lights on and flashing. We're going to go to our next setting, which is our headlight, and we go down to the headlight, and A drops down 1 more and B drops down 1 more. The diode on A is allowing power to go up and stay on the warning lights, but it's also coming over and it's going and lighting up my tail lights there at the back. B, where the position it's at, it's coming over and it's going and providing power to my dimmer switch that gives me high and low beam, and depending on whether I'm on high or low, let's talk about low first. I go to low and it goes down and it provides power to my 2 fender lights on my low beam side. After that, we're going to go to our next position. Now we're going to go and turn the highway on high beams. I'm going to be bringing power from my high beam side, comes over and makes my top relay live and latches that. When it latches that, it's got a constant source of power coming from a circuit breaker up here that provides power over, comes over, and then goes to my front high beam field lights is what that is. So I have a high beam on my outside fender, and I have my field lights on for my high beam. When I go to field, and this would be field with a dimmer switch in the low position, I have deactivated my warning, my flasher unit for my warning lights. I don't need to run my flashing lights out in the field. There's nobody out there after me or looking for me. They can see my headlights. So I have my outside lights on my fender. I have my field lights on, and I also have my lower flood lamps on the rear of the tractor. Now what I have activated at this point is number 2 relay. My number 2 relay is a special relay. The number 1 relay and the number 3 relay, you can see that there is only one trigger switch in there. So I'm either taking my power off of 87 to 87A on my relay when I'm latching or unlatching, but this middle one is a special relay. It lights both the 87 and the 87A at the same time. So one of the things that commonly happens when people do troubleshooting or they do repairs on this particular light circuit, they think that this center relay is just a normal relay, and they put in a normal working relay, and then they find out that they've got functions of this circuit that do not work. So this guy's special. When that gets latched, it comes over, and then it still provides power to my front fields. It also provides power to my lower relay, so it can be used down here. So when I go to high beam, what's happened when I go to high beam, now I'm going to be using all three of my relays are going to go live. I'm going to be latching all of them, and by doing that, I'm providing power to my upper flood lamps. I'm still providing power to my lower flood lamps. I'm providing power to my high side of my outer fender light, plus I'm also having my field lights on in the front fender. By taking a look at this in schematic form, maybe you can appreciate, why we have to use schematics and why we use the symbols. This is a pretty interesting way to use 3 different relays to do a lot of different functions. Hope this helps. Be safe. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I hope you've learned something new. If you would like to learn more about what it takes to be a technician, or just how something works in general, please feel free to check out some of my other videos. I'm Todd with Todd-U, and I'll see you later.